Hello guys, welcome to 𝐂𝐤𝐽𝐿s. My name is Vishamankar, and in this video we are gonna see the 11th trigger scenario of our English trigger playlist. So let's understand the requirement first. So the requirement is when a address is a child object. Okay, so when a address record is inserted, updated, deleted or undeleted, so we have to recalculate the total number of related records and update the roll-up summary field, that is count. Okay, it's a number field on the parent, that is customer object. Okay, so we have to do the roll-up summary kind of logic here, but we have to complete this using aggregate queries. So let's start. So first I will explain you what should be the output on the UI. So as you can see, we have the customer object. This is the custom object, that is parent object. So it has one record, and when we create, update, delete or undelete any address record, that is a child record, so how many addresses are there, so its count we have to show on the count field of the parent. So let's write the trigger logic for that. First we have to go to the developer console, then click on file, new and apex trigger. So we will give the name of the trigger, that is address trigger, and object will be address. Address is a custom object. So why we are selecting here s object as address? Because when the insertion of address, updation of address, delete or undeletion of address record, we have to calculate the count and update it on the parents. So that's why the triggering point here is the address object. So that's why. So here the trigger is created. So the next thing is we have to select the event here. So which events we are going to select? So as per our requirement, we will select all the events, that is insert, update, delete and undelete. Okay, but here as we know that after insertion, after updation, after deletion and undeletion, we have to calculate the count and update it on parent. So that's why we are going to select here after insert, after update, after delete and after undelete. Here I written all the events. Okay, so inside the curly braces, as a best practice, what we will do, we will check our code should be work on the particular events only. So that's why we have to write here trigger dot is after. We have to write all the events like insert, update, delete and undelete. I will show you how to write. So guys, as you can see here, I have written this code, that is trigger dot is after, then is insert, update, delete and undelete. So after insertion of address record, so whatever we will call any handler class, that class or that method will be executed. Okay, on after insert only. So we have to do the same for all the events. Okay, so for example, after update, okay, we will call any handler class. So the logic inside that handler class or method, it will be execute only after update. Okay, so now it's time to create the handler class where we will write our logic and we will call the methods of that class inside this if blocks. Okay, so let me create one class. We will click on file, new and apex class. We will give the class name as address trigger handler. Now I have created one class, that is address trigger handler. It's time to create one method. So inside this method we will write the our roll of logic. That's why we will give the method name as rollup. So here I have created one method that is a static method and its name is rollup. So we will call this rollup method in all four events, that is inside all if blocks. So let me call it. So as this is a static method, we can directly call it using class name dot method name. So here I have called the rollup method in all curly braces, that is for all events. So now it's time to pass the parameters. So here we will pass the parameters according to the events. So as you can see here, first event is after insert. So for the after insert we will pass trigger dot new and second parameter as null. I will tell you why we are passing that second parameter as null here. Okay, so let's pass the parameter for after update. Okay, so the parameter, first parameter is trigger dot new, second parameter is trigger dot old map. For delete we will pass trigger dot old and second parameter as null. So for undelete we will pass trigger dot new and second as null. Okay, so these are the parameters we are passing based on the events. So guys, as you can see here, in insert and in undelete we are passing the same parameters and we are calling the same method. So what we can do here, so we will write this condition in or condition here and we will remove this line so that our code will be less and the logic will be same here, because we are calling the same method for insert and update with the same parameter. So guys, we have passed the parameters here for every events for the rollup method. But as you can see here, in the rollup method, we haven't catch it yet. So we will catch it. First parameter is trigger.new. What is meant by trigger.new? Trigger.new means the list of triggering object. That means list of address. We will catch here trigger.new as list of address. That is address list. And the second parameter is null here. Okay. Let's consider the second parameter here in the update as trigger.oldMap. So what is meant by trigger.oldMap? Trigger.oldMap means the map of old values of triggering record. That means map of address records. So we can write it as map of id comma address. So what is meant by old map? Old map means, as the name suggests, old map. That means it will contains the record information with old values. Okay, for example, if you are updating a record name from Vishal to 𝐶𝐕_Clouds, then trigger.oldMap will contain the same record information but with the old value. That means the record information or the record name with Vishal, and the trigger.new will contain the latest record with the latest data. That means the record with the name as 𝐶𝐕_Clouds. Okay, so here why I pass the null, because in the trigger.new we are passing the latest record, that is latest created record or latest undeleted record, but we don't have to pass any second parameter to the same method. Okay, so keep one thing in mind: if you don't want to pass any parameter, you can pass the null as a parameter. Okay, so here in insert the undelete and delete event, I pass the null as a parameter, as a second parameter. Why? Because in the rollup method I don't want to pass any parameter, that's why. So the null value will be stored into the old map, but for the update we are passing the trigger.oldMap. That's why the trigger.oldMap, that means map of id comma address, it will be saved in the old map. So let's save the trigger. So inside this method we have to write the logic for the all events. So let's start. So as a best practice, we will check this address list should not be empty. Okay, if it is not empty, then only we will move forward. As you can see here, I have written the logic for that. That is, if address list is empty, then we have to return. Return means stop the code there. Okay, but if it is not empty, so it will move forward. That means it will execute the next logic. So let me write down the next logic. So to write down the next logic, what I will do, I will loop over the address list, because I have to check for the all the records that is present into the address list. Let me loop over it. So we are looping over the address list here. So now first thing we have to do here, we have to write down the conditions for all the events. Okay, so as you can see here, for after insert, after undelete and after delete, we are passing null as the second parameter. Okay, and we only have the list of addresses. So that's why we have to check that if that list of addresses, that means if the address record having parent, that means if that address record has parent, then only we will calculate the count of addresses and update it on parent. If that address record don't have a parent, so we no need to calculate the count and we don't have to update the count. So let me check it. So guys, I write here two conditions. As you can see that address.customer not equals to null, that means that address record should have one customer. That means that address record must have a customer, then only we will calculate the count and update it on the parent. That is mean by update it on the customer. And second is old map equals to null. What does that mean? As you can see here, for the insert, undelete and delete, we are passing the old map, that means the second parameter as null. So if you pass the second parameter as null, that means old map as null. So this condition will satisfy for the insert, undelete and delete, but it will not satisfy for the update. So that's why we are going to write the second condition, that is here else if for the update condition. So I hope you understand what is meant by this condition, because this condition is only for insert, undelete and delete. Okay, because here we are filtering the address records that we want to process. So this is the condition for three events. So let me write down for the update. So for the update, what we have to check? We have to check if the parent of the address is changed, then only we have to update the count. If we change any other field, so we don't have to update the count on the parent, because we don't want to trigger our code unnecessary. So that's why we have to write down the logic here. So guys, for the update event, what I did here, so I write here one condition, that is old map not equals to null. That means, as you can see that For the second parameter, we are passing the trigger.oldMap and it is coming into the old map. That means old map is not equal to null. Okay, this is the first condition. So this is the second condition. So what does that mean? I will explain you. If the addresses current customer is not equals to the old customer, okay, that means the customer on the address record is changed, then only we have to use that address record and we will update the count. So let me add that customer records into the set. So for that I have to create a set. So I will create one set variable here. So guys, here I created one set variable and inside the first if block, okay, so I use that variable, that is customer IDs dot add address dot customer. So the customer record of the address is added into the this set. So I will update the customer record that is present into this set later. So I have to do the same thing here, but I will use one more best practices, that is I will check here one null check. So the null check is, I will check the null check for the new record. So here I will also check the null check for the old record. So here as I write the condition, that is if the customer on the address is changed, that means customer may be the different customer, or the customer should be null, okay, that the customer lookup should be null. So this can be happen. Okay, for that I use the best practice, that means if the address customer is not equal to null, that means if the customer on the address is present, then only we will update that customer record. So that's why I added that customer record into this ID. And second condition is the same, if the old record is not equal to null, then only we will update the old record, that means the old customer record. We will update the count on the old customer record. But if the old customer record is not there on the address, so we don't update it. Okay, that's why I use the null check here. So guys, finally we got all the customer IDs that we have to update into this set. So guys, what we have to do here, as per our requirement, we have to use the aggregate query and update the count field on the customer record. Okay, so the records, that is the customer record that we have to update, I took all the customers record into the customer IDs set. So by using this customer IDs, so what I will do, I will query on the address records with the parent that is present into the this set. Okay, so let me query. So guys, this query will return me the result like this. So this is the customer record and this is the number of child record. That means the total number of addresses record associated with that customer. Okay. So as you can see here, I am getting expr0. So if I want to remove it, so what I have to do, I have to use here total count. So guys, I can use any name here. So that name will be present here, so that it will show like this. So let me replace it here also. So this is the our final aggregate query, and we will loop over this query and we will update the customer. I hope you understand how I write this query. So as the best practice, let me check that query should not be empty. If it is empty, so we will don't do anything. If it is not empty, then we will move forward. I write the condition here, that is existing addresses, that means this aggregate query. If it is not empty, this is the exclamation mark, that means not empty, then we will move forward. We will loop over that list. So I write the for loop, and what we will do, we will update the customers records and we will update the count on the customer record. So let me create the instance of the customer. So here I create the instance of the customer record, and now I will find the customer record that I have to update using the ID. As you can see here, customer.id, that is ag.getCustomer. So what it will return, so it will return the customer record from this ag record. Ag means aggregate record, and using this we are changing the data type. Okay, so we are changing the data type of whatever the value written by this code, okay, to the string, so that it will be assigned to the c customer.id. So this code will return the customer ID and it will be assigned to the this ID. After that, we have to update the count. So let me write. So to update the count, I write this code. As you can see here, ag.get total count. That means from this aggregate record, we have to get the whatever the value that is present into this total count column. That means whatever the value present into this total count column, it will return, and we have to change the data type to the integer. So the integer value will be there, whatever the value. Let's say we have the value as 1. So 1 would be here and it will assign to the count. So guys, using this code, what we did, we find the customers record that we have to update, and we also updated and assigned the total count of the addresses in the count field. So now we have to update the customers record. So what we will do, we will create the list of customers, okay, and we will add that record that we have to update into that list, and we will update that list. So guys, as you can see here, I have created one list of customer variable, and in that list I have added all the customers that I have to update. Now I will update this list, but before updating I will check this list should not be empty, then only we have to update this list. So guys, as you can see here, I have write the condition inside the if block, that is if customers to update list, if it is not empty, then we have to update. Not empty means that customers to update list has some customers records to update. So if it is not empty, then we are updating the customers record. So we have saved our trigger and the handler class logic here, and now we have successfully write our trigger code. Okay, so now guys, it's time to test our trigger code if it is working properly or not. So let me go to the UI. So guys, now we will test our logic. As you can see here, this is the existing customer record with count as empty. So here is the existing addresses records that is created before the trigger. So guys, now we will test for the insert scenario. Let me insert one record. So our required output is the 2 as a count should be updated on the customer. So guys, as you can see here, the 2 as a count is updated on the customer. So our insert scenario is working properly. So let me test for the delete scenario. So guys, to test the delete scenario, what I will do, I will delete one of the record from here, and only one record should be there. So it will update the count as 1. So let me delete the record that I created. I have deleted the record. So let me check. Let me refresh it. Let me check how many count are showing here. So the count is showing 1. Why? Because after the delete, our trigger code will fire and test the logic like how many child records are there related to the customers. So it will update the count according to the related addresses records. That is correct. So we test the insert and delete scenario. Now it's time to test the undelete scenario. So guys, to test the undelete scenario, what we will do, as you can see that in the previous scenario, we have deleted the record. So what we will do, we will undelete the same record. We are restoring it. The record was undeleted. So let me refresh it here. So I have refreshed the record, and you can see that the 2 records are there because the inserted record, that is mean by these 2 records, are undeleted. Our expected output is the 2 count should be shown on the page. So as you can see here, the count as the 2 is showing because our trigger fire on the undelete also. So guys, our trigger code is working for the undelete scenario also. Okay, so guys, now it's time to test our update scenario. Okay, so for the update scenario, we have 2 customer record, this first and this is the second customer record. For the first customer record, we have 2 records, and for the second, we don't have any addresses records. So what I will do, I will update the parent of the any of the record. Like let me update the parent from customer 1 to the customer 2, and I will save it. So what it will do, our trigger code will fire on the update event also, and it will update the count on this customer record also, and it will update the count on this customer record. So for the new customer record, it will update as 1, and for the old customer record, it will reduce the count from 2 to 1. So let me refresh it. So guys, as you can see here, I refreshed the both the record, and now one address record is showing here and another address record is showing here. So let me check the if the count is updated or not. Yeah, so here on the first record, so the previous count was 2, now it is reduced to 1 because the parent is updated on the record and it is showing here. Okay, and here the count was 0, that means count was empty, and now because of our trigger fires, the count is updated to 1 because our trigger is firing on the update event also. So that's why. So guys, that's all for today's video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you have any questions or queries, you can drop it into the comment box. And if you are new to my channel, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and also hit the bell icon. And one more thing I want to say to you guys, that is into the description of the video I have added all the social media links. Okay, so you can join there, for example WhatsApp, Instagram, Telegram, LinkedIn, and you can also connect it to me personally on the LinkedIn also, so that you will get the all the latest notification there. So that's all for today's video, and thank you so much guys.